No, Sam, don't go after. He's after the cable this morning. Welcome. How are you? How's everybody doing this morning? It's time for Star Wars Andor. I just watched this earlier this morning. It's about 5:30 local time. Um, I was watching this from about 4 a.m. onwards up until the Wheel of Time rant video went live. So it's time to review Andor, episode 9. And oh man, we are man, there is a lot to unpack in this episode. It is, in my mind, we're now clearly into the middle arc and we're getting towards the final arc because we've only got what 3 episodes left, episodes 10, 11, 12. There's only 3 episodes left to go, so we're into the final arc of the series here, and we're establishing multiple storylines which may or may not come to conclusion at the end of season one that may be carried over into season two. As I understand, season two is also going to be 12 episodes broken into multiple years with three, I believe it's 3 episodes per year. So they're going to be telling these 3 episode story arcs in season two leading up to the story of Rogue One. I, for one, can't wait to then go back and rewatch the entirety of season one, season two, and then Rogue One in one big chunk, kind of like the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson. All right, Sam's being crazy over here. Spoiler alert, because we're getting into all the stuff today with the episode. I got bedhead and bedbeard, and I really don't care because I'm old and who gives a shit. So let's roll. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get more like this, and don't forget, as always, support the channel. I do stay on the air and full time because of contributions. Ow! From all of our fans and subscribers. What's up, buddy? You can start with a super thanks on the video below. You can also join as a member of the Adventures Guild. We have 3 different tiers, including one where we're currently doing a rewatch of Battlestar Galactica. That's at the guild captain level and above. We're also going to be doing a live watching of Willow sometime soon as we prepare for the Willow series. What are you doing, Sam? Um. Anyway, you've heard plenty of the things. Let's just get into the episode before my cat tears me apart. Um. So we get started off with this episode with Dedra. And honestly, I kind of am like in this situation now where anytime Daedra's on screen, I feel nervous and uncomfortable because she is one scary bitch. Like, don't screw with Dedra. Like, she is the Imperial Security Bureau, like, personified. Like, she is just not a nice person. And she's all about let's abuse all of the things we can, use all the loopholes possible to get information and crack down because hail, hail emperor, basically. Um, so we get off starting here. She's torturing Bix, and there's honestly this opening scene puts Rings of Power to so much shame because this is brilliant. This is House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. This is top notch acting and writing and dialogue going on here. Um, she's basically just terrorizing Bix before she even gets to the point where they're gonna torture her. Um, she starts talking about all the things she learned from her boss, and it's everything. Like they tortured the guy, and he broke. He met a woman at a meeting, at a separatist meeting 2 years ago, a mysterious woman who provided him with a comm unit, which was Luthen's aid, recruited him to the cause, using Ferrix's position as a planet to steal equipment. And she's like, "You're in my net, Bix. Are you a fish or are you a thief?" And it's just like, "Oh man." Um, She's like, the worst thing you can do right now is bore me. And Bix is like, you wouldn't believe me regardless of what I tell you. And Dedra's like, you're probably right. Time for the torture scene. And now we're getting some of the jumping back and forth because we have to have some sort of sequencing here to set up the longer story arcs later on the episodes. We're back to the factory, and Cassian's team is kicking ass. Like they are like top of the food chain, so to speak, in terms of production. This is very important because they have been earning the trust of the floor manager, Andy Serkis's character. Now, it doesn't tell us how much time has passed, or if it did, maybe I missed it, but it appears that there has been a passage of time because they're all working together. They all trust Cassian. They're getting, they're building camaraderie here. And then we're back to the doctor and the interrogation. This sequence is scary as all hell, and it's probably, honestly, I've watched Star Wars my whole life. This is the darkest scene that I've ever seen in Star Wars, apart from when Obi-Wan chops Anakin in half and leaves him burning on Mustafar. Like, this is that level of dark. This doctor is interrogating her, and he's telling her, "Don't worry about the restraints; they're there to protect you." And he gives her this story about how there was the planet of species who resisted imperial oversight, and the Empire gave us free rein to go in and wipe them out without reservations. And as we were culling the whole planet, we discovered that they uttered this death cry, this plea, if you would. It's literally the word he uses, this plea, if you would, which caused three of our men to curl up in a ball, and we then took the cries of their dying people, refined them, adjusted them, and found that the death pleas and the death calls of the children were particularly useful in extracting information because of the way they affect the brain and the way they affect the listener. And I'm just sitting here going, this is like dark, 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 dark stuff. And then we're back to the factory again. I was like, wait, what? You can't do a build up like that and then leave me. He just passed out. This is really funny to me, guys. So he was being all sorts of aggressive, and now he's like, "Yeah, I've spent my energy." Blech. His eyes are closed. He's gone. We're back to the factory. Andor says he sees some guards walking around above, and he goes to the bathroom. He says, "I'm gonna take a walk." And while he's in there, he passes another guy who's like, watching and listening. And he gets into the bathroom and he starts cutting a tube that is interrupted because there's just a new man on the floor. They go back. He's back. He's talking to the guy next to him, and he's like, "Okay, two men, two weapons, no boots." He's touching the rail, and the guy's like, "Do you believe me now? The elevator's not wired. Nothing that moves can fry you." And Anders like, "Well, I got a new idea. One guard, one weapon. Let's shut the elevator down halfway." They're starting to figure out a way to break up, and then manager's giving this speech, but everybody needs to shut up. Man on the floor, and he's giving the same speech he gave to Andor when he arrived. Then we're back to Bix, back to the factory, back to the Bix, back to the factory. Old man's forgetting things. Back to Bix. Keep her alive. She's a witness. Um, they're gonna hang her old boss in public to show who's in charge, which is creepy. Mon Mothma now on the Senate floor, trying to give a speech against the Emperor's public order, and no one in the Senate's really listening. Meanwhile, she's in her car, and the guy's like, "Your cousin's arrived. She's at the embassy now." And Mon Mothma looks super nervous. Then we're back to the planet. We're in the tubes where they transfer from the workplace to the cells. Something's going on. Everybody's nervous. They're doing the hand gestures through the windows. Something happened on level 2, and the manager's yelling at everybody, "Calm down, shut up." Then the lights go out. It looks like there was some sort of a reboot that happened. The sirens start going off. Everyone's like, "Something's wrong on level 2, far side." The manager's like, "Stop worrying about it. It takes a week for word to get up through the hand gestures coming up through that's the other side of the base, whatever it is. It's not relevant now. Calm down, everybody." Then we're back to Mon Mothma. This is a fast-paced episode, but her cousin's Vel, and I thought this might be some sort of a front, but it turns out that this is Vel is legitimately Mon Mothma's cousin. And she's like, "Where have you been for 6 months?" And Vel's like, "The rebellion comes first." And she's like, Mon Mothma's like, "When are you going home for a visit? What does Luthen have you doing?" And Val's like, "Who? I don't know who you're talking about. Things are happening. There's risk. There's no other way." So this is legitimately her cousin, and I didn't know about that. Then we're back to the cells, and Andor is starting to push the manager. They're building up rapport and a relationship. He's like, "Do you ever think about escaping?" And the manager's like, you know, "Talk what you like, flap those lips, you'll regret it." And Andor's like, "How many shifts do you have left? Tell me what you know before you go. How many guards are there?" And the guy's like, "You need to stop talking." And Andor's like, "You think they're listening? You think they care enough to make an effort? They don't need to care. They just need to keep their numbers up." And the manager's like, "You just need to go to sleep." And he turns over and turns his back to him. And Andor's yelling, "How many guards are there? Nobody's listening." And he shouts this into the cell to make a point. Um, Now we're back to the ISB. And Partagas and Dedra are debriefing about how Bix told them all the things, and they happen to see Cassian at the heart of all of this, connecting him back to the garrison robbery because he was clean shaven when we returned to the planet to see his mother, and the others that were participating were clean shaven at the time, and he'd always been seen on Ferrix with a beard. So they're making all sorts of assumptions and things here, and they're watching the mother full time. Now we're back to the tubes again. and they are freaking out. There's things happening. There's rumors going up and down about Unit 2.5. Both shifts were killed. 100 men fried out. They fried the whole bridge. The manager's freaking out, asking this other manager. Other manager says they were making trouble. One of their own shift guys goes, they set them free. And then the manager, Andy Serkis's character is punching the guy to shut him up, and Andor pulls him apart. Calm down. The less they think we know, the better. And looky here, the manager's listening to him. And he starts yelling at the guys. It's just a rumor. We've heard nothing. Just another day, another shift. Let's keep our mouths shut, heads down. But he's nervous as fuck. Well, hey there, Cyril. We're back on the planet with Cyril. His mother's pestering him. She wants a return on her investment. She's like giving him crap. Imagine if I cracked under the weight of your neglect. And he tells her that he's been promoted. Now she's happy as peach pie. He's like, the demands of my time will be increased. And she doesn't care because Uncle Harlow is going to be so pleased. Whew, those 2 a.m. wake-ups are getting to me. Back to the shift. The old man isn't just having problems with his hands anymore. He's staring off into the crackling sparks. He's forgetting about his hands. He's losing it. Then there's dinner at the senator's house, and Mon Mothma's husband is ribbing Vel about not having a husband, teasing her about her Mon Mothma's old boyfriend, the banker. And then they're having this, private talk about Vel reminding Mon Mothma that they're making something in their lives. They chose a side, and then she's off. And then we're back to Bix, tortured, gasping for breath on the planet. And then we see Tyrell topside, waiting for someone. And it turns out he tracked down Dedra, and he wants to thank her for the promotion. And she's like, "What are you talking about? Nothing to do with us. We simply gave you a clean bill of health. And have you been waiting out here, stalking me?" And he's like, "Look, I would never lie to you. I needed to find you and thank you for what you did and what you're doing. I know you work here. I know you're obsessed like I am with Andor and keeping the Empire clean and all this other stuff." And she's like, are you stalking me?" And it turns out it looks like Cyril really is legitimately losing his mind here, obsessed with Andor. And he like grabs her arm and he's like, "I know you feel it. I know it." And she's like, "You're out of your mind. And if you ever come here again, I'm gonna have you on the cage in the outer rim." And then as she walks away, he smiles, which is crazy. Um, Her assistant tells her they captured a pilot. I think this is setting something up for what's to come later, and because of what the ISB scene is in a minute. But before we get to that point, we're back to Mon Mothma meeting with her banker friend about the accounts. He's like, "You should have come to me sooner because this is bad. It's very bad. There's $400,000 that we have to, 400,000 credits that we have to bury somehow. Um, we need a Chandrilan banker with treasury connections and a book of business that is massive." And she's not happy with who he suggests because it turns out it's a criminal dude from Coruscant, and he's already talking. Her friend's already talked to the guy and wants to meet. Mon Mothma feels like everything is spiraling out of control. I am yawning. I apologize, everybody. It's the 2 a.m. wake ups. Um, it is out of control, but it is what it is. But now we get this scene with the ISB, and they've caught somebody using Imperial credentials, um, which is he's using one of the stolen items from before, and it's one of Krieger's group. And Krieger is the group that Luthen has had watching this power station, and Partagas, I guess they know about the guys that have been casing the power station. They mentioned they don't want to spook them, so what are we going to do? Dedra suggests we'll kill the pilot and set the ship free, you know, then they won't suspect that. So, but they do know about Krieger, so this may come back to be something important later with Luthen. I don't know yet. We're about to find out later. Now we're at the factory again, and the old man is essentially losing it. He's staring into the sparks, and he loses all kind of consciousness. And they're trying to cover for him. Somebody yells on program. They're supposed to raise their hands, right? And the old man can't. They go around him, and he just falls down. They pick him up and drag him. They're dragging him back to the cells through the transportation tubes. And the manager's he's seems that he's freaking out, but he's also genuinely concerned because he's leaning over the old man. And he's like, "Come on, you've only got a few shifts left before you go home, old man. Hang in there. Only 40 shifts left." They call for medtech. The medtech shows up, and at this point, it's just Andor and the manager, the old man, and the medtech, and everybody else has gone back to their cells. And the Andy Serkis's character wants this med tech to call the old man by name. Olaf, I think is his name. And the med tech's like, I don't want to know his name. Um, and they, Serkis's character wants to save him because the guy's only got 40 shifts left. Just give him something to keep him on his feet for the next few days. He really genuinely wants this guy to be able to go home and be free. And the tech's like, I can't save him. It's not an option. He's had a stroke. I can't help him. And then he says, I can't help anyone. I need a bag and a trolley. He'll pass peacefully, which is more than I can say for the rest of us. Another week of this place, and you'll be begging for the peace he's getting. And Andor freaks out and says, What do you mean? What happened on level 2? And the medtech looks at the manager and says, Keep your men in line. You're going to want to keep your men in line. And they inject the old man. He dies. And the manager is seething. Circus's character is seething, and he growls, What do you mean, keep my men in line? What happened on level 2? The med tech looks up and asks for the trolley again. Guard leaves, and then the med tech starts talking. He's like, "A man was released from 4. He'd finished his rotation. He was released, and then he somehow ended up back on 2. So they released him, and then they got him again and put him back into the rotation. And when they found out that they had made a mistake, they fried the whole floor. And Cassian realizes in this moment, as does the manager, that no one's getting out now. Not now. Not after this, the tech replies. We're all in here for life now. So this idea that you get to go home after your shift, that's or you get to go home after you finished all of your shifts, that's now out the window because it turns out, you're just getting it fried. And as they're returning to the cell chambers, Andor pressures the manager again. He's like, "Come on, man! How many guards are there pro level?" And Andy Serkis's character growls, "Never more than 12." And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Now they've got Andy Serkis on their side. So now it's time to start planning the breakout. And Andor's already been sort of, you know, poking at things and trying to figure out how they're going to. So this is going to be the big thing. There's going to be a big breakout here. They're going to start this rebellion, and they're going to break out. And I can't wait to see it. Like the stakes are getting higher and higher as this show goes on, and this is, like I said, one of the darkest episodes I've ever seen in Star Wars. 10 out of 10 for me. My brother and I am not on the same page with this show. Usually we're on the same page with Star Wars, and he finds this show to be really boring. I find it to be incredibly thrilling. I love this kind of storytelling. So for me, a 10 out of 10 again. Love to hear your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Support in all the ways you can. Memberships are great. We do lots of cool things with our members here on YouTube. Do a one-off super thanks if you want. If you're here on a premiere, you can do super chats and stickers. Don't forget about our Patreon page. If you like my writing and the things that I'm doing, check out the stuff that I'm working on with my wife and my brother and our game world. Um, until next episode, everybody, stick around, stay tuned, because we got more Star Wars. Andor coming. Will is coming later this month. I'm doing House of the Dragon, Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, so much more. May the Force be with you.